This one is no longer a debate. The Buffalo Bills are the best team in the AFC. Stevie Johnson, you with me?
I'm with you. I'm right behind you on that. The best, and they proved it. The most balanced around the league. I'm looking forward to the rest of the season.
Stevie Johnson bailing on the Kansas City Chiefs. He believes it week in and week out. We'll get to it, Stevie, but I mean, what a performance from the Bills, top to bottom, against San Fran. Utterly dominant offensive line. The run game was spectacular. Josh Allen, the superlatives have no ending. A receiving touchdown, Davis. Did you have that on your best bets?
Absolutely not. And you guys, let's be honest, you guys are a bunch of Bills homers. You guys think the Bills are the best team in the AFC? Best team in the NFL?
I didn't say NFL.
Okay, best team in the AFC?
I think best team in the AFC.
Well, so do I, goddammit. Let's go.
Welcome into Broken Table following Week 13. Korolnek, Sanchez, Hein, and Stevie Johnson. The Buffalo Bills throttle the San Francisco 49ers 35-10 in the snow. It was picturesque. It was beautiful. The result and the scenery, Chris.
Snow games can go either way on snow games. Sometimes it's just bad quality football, but yesterday it was fun. Sorry.
Well, no. I wanted to jump in and say you said something before we began taping today, Chris, that you actually are in support of a domed stadium in Buffalo, which was stunning to me. Stunning to me. Because, man, I mean, you can't really beat the conditions, the elements from last night and the results.
I don't need to be shamed about my dome take off the top. We can get to that later. But the one thing that stood out to me last
Chris,
night.
don't worry about it, bro. Don't worry about it, because I'm with you. I was like thinking the same thing. We got this new stadium coming in, and it's not at least the indoor-outdoor retractable or something like that. But after seeing what the 49ers did, what the Buffalo Bills did to the 49ers and that snow, the aura of it all, now I'm kind of switching over. Maybe we just keep it how it is.
It was special, and it's always special when the snow coming down. But what really jumped out to me last night was the versatility of this team, and they can kind of beat you any way. You want to get in a shootout? Josh will win a shootout. You want to have like a physical running type game? Bills can win that too. So to me, it's like they can win any type of game.
Yeah, what surprised me, or maybe what is now proven to me, is that the Buffalo Bills don't have weaknesses. And the things that we thought were weaknesses that we continue to talk about that might be weaknesses for the Bills are not. And so this is where, and all jokes aside, this is where there's no question. The Buffalo Bills are the best team in the AFC. And it might not be close right now. They're clearly the best team in the AFC, and it's because they have the best player in the NFL, and they don't have weaknesses.
Yeah, Josh Allen now minus 230 to be the NFL MVP on FanDuel. Saquon Barkley is second at plus 500. So we're talking about a huge disparity between the two. And frankly, it is completely deserving. Josh Allen last night was a one-man wrecking crew. The passing touchdowns, the rushing touchdowns, and the receiving touchdowns. I mean, you were a DB, Davis. Stevie, you were a stud wide receiver. You were a stud DB as well. You knew that was implied. You ever seen a receiver lateral the ball back to a quarterback before, Stevie? I mean, that was a first for me.
No, the closest I've seen was, you remember when Randy Moss caught that pass and flipped it behind his back? That was the closest I've seen. We've seen some Reggie Bush highlights where he did the lateral. Sometimes it was bad. But I never seen it how it was done just last game versus the 49ers. It was special. It was awareness. It was everything, you know what I mean, as far as the receiver making the play from Josh, and then Josh having the awareness to track down the play. I was talking to some of the guys last night, and he said the connection was off of eye contact. He didn't say anything. He just saw in his eye, Josh saw in Amari's eyes that he's ready for the ball, and he tossed it to him just off instinct. So it was just a special play, and it had amazing style points with the Superman dive at the corner of the end zone.
Honestly, like that picture, I saw the Bills tweet, and they're like, hang in the Louvre. It's a beautiful sight. As a Bills fan, I love it. I gushed over it. But a lot of times with MVP, and maybe too, if we're talking college, you think like Heisman moments. Josh Allen has now had 2 Heisman moments. 2 weeks ago against the Chiefs with that big run, and then last night with that play. Like, that was his MVP moment. And like, get out of here with Saquon Barkley at 5-1. You take Saquon Barkley off the Eagles, they're still a playoff team. You take Josh Allen off the Bills, this is a 5-win team.
Maybe at best. Yeah. And Josh Allen has just been carrying this team. Think about all the injuries that Buffalo's endured over the course of the season on offense and on defense. I think you're absolutely right. The Bills are a fringe playoff team without him, but with them, they're the best team in the AFC and arguably in the NFL.
Yep, I'm with you.
So Allen, first QB in NFL history. Pass touchdown, rush touchdown, receiving touchdown ever. We're all in agreement. We think it's his MVP. But now let's get to the important thing, and that's the Chiefs. A couple weeks ago, we looked at both schedules, and I remember specifically being like, oh, the Chiefs have this pretty easy. This is going to be no problem for them to clinch the 1 seed, even if the Bills beat them. The Bills beat them. They're now a game apart. Now we bring up those schedules. This Chiefs schedule looks a little tough, and the Bills outside of the Lions game looks pretty easy.
Every game for the Chiefs is tough because they've been on the precipice of losing countless games to complete trash teams, including the Vegas Raiders on Friday. And I understand Buffalo's got the Rams and the Lions the next 2 weeks.
Both on the road, too.
Both on the road. Cupcake schedule down the stretch. New England, the Jets, and New England. Those are 3 wins without a shadow of a doubt. The Bills are the slight underdogs on FanDuel to win the 1 seed, but I think they will win the 1 seed, and it is of the utmost importance, I think certainly for Kansas City to do so, considering what we've seen from this football team over the course of the season, but for Buffalo as well, simply because of what we've talked about so far. The conditions play to the style of the Buffalo Bills. And even if they are the 2 seed, they'll get that home game. They'll get the first 2 home games and maybe go to Arrowhead, where it could be snowy as well. But Davis, I mean, this is all trending in a very positive direction for Buffalo.
I'm curious, other than the fact that the Bills play in cold weather often because of Buffalo, so does Kansas City.
Yep.
And do we think that the Bills, maybe I toss this to Stevie, but do we think that the Bills, the Kansas City Chiefs also have a power run game? So what makes us think that it's better, cold weather is better for the Bills over the Chiefs? I think it is over some teams. I don't necessarily think it is over the Chiefs. Their interior offensive line is as dominant as anybody in the league, the Chiefs. So I don't know. Stevie, what do you think about in regards to those or how important is the 1 seed?
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't think it affects the Kansas City Chiefs. I think it affects our Buffalo Bills more so than, the Chiefs. But if you say another team, then I think it does matter. The only reason why I say it don't affect the Kansas City Chiefs is because, once again, they've been in close games since for 3 years, consecutive week in, week out. So I'm beginning to think and believe that they're just comfortable controlling those type of games. So that's why I'm not worried by any of the numbers and the stats and how they're looking. But when it comes down to those playoff games and the atmosphere, I understand that the Buffalo Bills, you see the aura that they have when they're at home with the Bills Mafia. It's just it's a show, it's an experience, and the players understand it because they're involved with the community. But if you go outside to Kansas City, I think our Buffalo Bills are still able to win, but it's just that you don't have that advantage of the Bills Mafia, that comfortability to, turn the game up with that loudness and the crowd chatter. So that's how I see it. With the Chiefs, no, but other teams, yes. When it comes to home field advantage.
Let's not forget the advantage of fans throwing snowballs at field goals that are coming in and maybe knocking the ball off.
A Bills snow game after touchdown and everyone's throwing snow is just it's a magical feeling. But Chezzy, you sort of touched on this, something I want to bring up. Over the last 2 years, I feel like the weakness of this Bills team was physicality and toughness.
Yeah.
And now I would say that is arguably their biggest strength. And I think they lead the league. A number of times they bring in an extra lineman. They often bring in a 6th lineman and will just run it down your throat.
They do lead the league, and that we saw it. Me and Takia last night on our show. We were talking about it. It was actually double. The Bills run as of last night, they run 6 offensive lineman sets. It was 120 times, and the second team was Denver at 55 and New England at 54. So almost double. And we don't think of, to your point, the Buffalo Bills as a power run team,
but they are.
But you're looking at double the 6 offensive lineman sets. So I think you're right. I think we can all agree this is now not a finesse team. Although they can play that way, they can air it out, but they're also physical.
And when they get healthy, Keon Coleman's back in the lineup, Dalton Kincaid's back in the lineup. You're going to see an offense that can do it in any which way is needed, right? And we know the power run game is there with Cook, who is an absolute beast. Stevie, your boy Ray Davis continues to shine. Ty Johnson's out there. Allen, we know what he can do with his legs. But when this team needs to air it out, and let's say they do have to go on the road or play in a warm weather climate, which seems unlikely at this point, they're able to do that as well.
Yeah, for sure. And it didn't even feel like we was missing anybody. I didn't even notice that Keon was out. I didn't notice that Kincaid was out. And that's the dynamics of the Buffalo Bills. That's what the management has created there. Every position room has multiple stars. We didn't hear much about Von Miller. That's great because then Greg Russo steps up. Epinesa does his thing with controlling the line. We haven't heard much about Mac Hollins a lot, but what he does on a play-by-play basis as far as receiver route tree structure is amazing. So to see him get a touchdown is very good, and is good energy for those type of players that's not in the newspapers all the time, So I'm looking forward to more from this team.
The blocking with Mac Hollins too is so important. We just talked about they're a power running team. That's a big guy who's a good blocker. But let's talk a little about Mac Hollins, the person, because that entrance of him walking in was hilarious. We've seen all the bare feet stuff, and like Stevie and Ches, have you ever played with a teammate as eccentric as Mac Hollins?
Oh, Stevie, you got something here? I got to think about this one.
Maybe I was the one, but not to that extent, So we had a lot of characters, but he different. He definitely built different. I like it though, because off the field, very intelligent, very wise and knowledgeable. And the things that he do is not just for nothing. He's got a reason to it and a reason behind it. So do what you do, brother.
Now, the walking in bare feet in the snow, that's a bold choice. I love it. But now that type of weather game, have you guys had a crazy weather experience like that?
Nothing with snow like that. I mean, it's been cold a lot. Obviously, when I was in with the Chargers, the weather was nice all the time, and I think we had a couple cold games in Kansas City, but for the most part, up here, definitely played in a lot of cold games, but not snowing. Picturesque, kind of like we saw with the snowballs and that. No, just really darn cold.
Okay, for my snow game, I did have an opportunity to, but hear me out on this one, guys. So this wasn't the Buffalo Bills of now, and this wasn't the Stevie Johnson who was catching bodies and crossing people over yet. This was my second year in the league. I had a slight torn hamstring, and it was like the last game of the season. It was against the Indianapolis Colts. And it was crazy snow, blizzard I'm talking about. And they was like, okay, Stevie, you're finally up. I'm like, this is the time where you're on the verge of possibly getting cut. And I didn't do as much, like I said, to stay. So if I made a mistake during the snow game like this with a slightly torn hamstring, I don't know. Coach, my hamstring tore up, man. So I had to make a business decision. And I didn't get to play in that snow. And just seeing things, just making it fun, seeing how Jameis Winston go out there and doing what he did in the snow, seeing the Buffalo Bills now, obviously different team, different times. But I wish I would have had the opportunity to just say forget it and lay it on the line and have fun out there. But I definitely am glad that I made the decision not to play and continue at least 4 more years with the Buffalo Bills.
I will say one thing. I know every cold game I played, and I truly believe this. If you asked me, it was a mind over matter thing. So if you asked, it's cold out there, are you cold? I would convince myself before I went out there to start the game that I wasn't cold. And if anyone talked about it, anyone brought it up, mentioned cold, I'm not cold, I'm good. And it's just a mind thing. For me, what I always did, and just keep moving, don't slow down. And, guys would be hovering on the heaters doing this. And I refused in my mind to believe it was cold. And that's the way that I got through it.
San Francisco 49ers could have used that advice from you last night, Davis. I mean, those guys looked frigid. They're all standing with their parkas and their toques, and Kyle Shanahan looked like he couldn't wait to get out of Western New York. I think a lot of that had to do with the result. But, for you and I, Chris, as the non-professional athletes, I think back to recess, you're playing in the snow, and I think that brings back for the fans watching a snow game like Sunday night. That's the beauty of it, because I think everyone can relate to playing football in the snow.
So I've been a season ticket holder since I was 6. And when I was young, I used to, snow game, this is the best. And then you're 19, you're in your 20s. And we talked about it before, the cheap whiskey at the duty free, that will carry you in a snow game. But last year, the Steelers playoff game, that was, I had to responsibly go and buy all of the gear and just went over the top. I'll happily take a dome, but I will say this: the coldest game I've ever been to, and I've been to so many Bills January, December games, was Canada, Jamaica, for Canada to get into the World Cup. This was BMO in February with that lake right there. Oh my, the coldest I've ever been, colder than any Bills game, easy. So you can just imagine Jamaica, who's playing to get into the World Cup. As soon as we got there, we felt how cold it was. We got on that FanDuel app and we hammered Canada hard because these guys aren't ready for this cold. There's no chance.
Smart.
Sharp money.
Very sharp. It's like the Miami Dolphins playing in sub 40-degree temperatures, a literal lock to fade them every single time. And I think that's 12 games in a row Miami's played in cold temperatures.
That's
much
not
like
even that cold,
exactly.
That's 4.4 degrees Celsius.
Exactly.
That ain't cold.
Come
on.
There's a reason why anytime they come north, Miami has some major problems, and I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. But I am surprised, Chris, at your Dome Stadium take. I thought you'd be one of those hardcores that would embrace the snow, embrace the cold. Frank, I'm a little bit disappointed.
It's fun once, but
Yes.
when you're going 3 times a year in December and January, I want to be warming in a dome. Why not?
Well, billions of dollars coming in on that new stadium.
Yes.
There is no roof. So I think we just need to accept facts as facts, and this is the reality of the situation. So leading up to the Sunday nighter, I think we were all tuned into the Ravens and the Eagles. The Eagles winning their 8th straight game, and it seemed like just yesterday, Nick Sirianni is cussing out Eagles fans on the sidelines, and now he is beloved. People are talking about contract extensions, coach of the year situations with Sirianni as well. The Eagles are legit. No one could possibly dispute that. Their defense looked great against Baltimore. Their offense has been great, led by Saquon Barkley all year long. Do you put Philadelphia in the top tier of the NFL right now, Davis, with the Kansas Cities, with the Buffaloes, with the Detroits?
Absolutely. I mean, again, talk about teams that don't have weaknesses. They don't have a weakness. But I would say this, if I'm looking at the best teams in the league, the quarterback play for the Eagles is the one thing. And it's not Jalen's done. He's done okay because he's got a great team around him. He's a solid quarterback. I just don't think if he needed to, he could win a game on his own with his arm. And the other guys in that top tier that we talk about can. That's the only, and I don't even see it's a weakness because the style of play they don't need to. But I absolutely put them right there.
I agree with you, and I know we saw it. Like his performance in the Super Bowl was unreal. Like one of the best Super Bowl performances we've ever seen. But like, what's that, 2 years ago now? Yeah. We haven't seen that guy really since then. And yeah, their identity is different. They're built around Saquon. Saquon might very well break the rushing record, which is crazy. But I think you have to put Philly in that group. And I'm not ready to say they're better than Detroit, though, because Detroit's been comfy on top. And the urgency just hasn't really been there. But I think that team still exists.
Yeah, I was riding with both of you guys on that one with you got to put them in that talk. I don't exactly put them above the Detroit Lions just yet, but as far as a team that's real, I believe so. You got to believe it. You know, they got a quarterback that can manage a game at the most, you know, and if he had to get it out, you know, he got a history of throwing amazing games. So, you know, they got a complete team there. And without Saquon, I don't think they'll be as high as they are right now. So that's where the respect for that running back talk and MVP talk coming from. But yeah, that's my take on the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah, that terrible end of that game, Chicago and Detroit. Well, it was terrible for Chicago, not so much for Detroit. I mean, you think about what Detroit represents, how they've been demolishing teams for the most part all season long. Buffalo, Kansas City, Philadelphia. For me, those are the top 4 teams. And I think there is a distinction between them and then the next tier where you'd have the Baltimores and maybe the Pittsburghs.
Baltimore was in that tier, I think, before.
Baltimore
but
was. They can't defend. They've given up almost 330 points, almost 100 points more than the 4 teams that I just mentioned. And
not in the last month though. Most of those stats come from early in the season.
That's fair.
You're right. If you look at the whole season sample, I'll finish your point, but I would put Baltimore with those.
You would put Baltimore
absolutely.
in the big, let's call them the big 5.
Yeah.
And I think Pittsburgh, look what Russell Wilson did against Cincinnati. We need to add that caveat. That's a team that cannot defend at all. Putting up 44 on them. Russ with more than 400 yards passing.
I didn't think they could do that anymore.
No, me neither. And then we know what Pittsburgh's defense can represent as one of the best in the NFL. We know what the Chargers defense can do. I would say those 2 defenses are probably the top 2 in the NFL. But it's really fascinating. And if you want to include Baltimore, Davis, I really have no issue. But I think those 5 teams, I really struggle to see anyone else bursting through and vying for a Super Bowl. I think it's going to be one of those 5 teams. And Stevie, is there one team outside of that top 5 that you could see breaking through and maybe winning the Super Bowl in New Orleans?
No.
Pittsburgh?
I don't.
I don't think we can't put Pittsburgh in that group.
They're the next team.
How it is, you know, I'm trying to think of some
group,
kind of underdog, but the biggest underdog would probably be, in my opinion, the Philadelphia Eagles. because nobody expecting them to do what they're doing in the NFC. Well, actually, they kind of are, but when you see what Detroit is doing, putting up 50 points and this and that, it don't seem like they're clawing and fighting to get their W's. So if you match those two up, I would assume that the Detroit Lions would do whatever they wanted with them. But we all know how a rushing game can control the clock, and when you got a quarterback that can at least manage a game, that can be dangerous. So anything can happen at this point with these top tier teams. You spoke on the Chargers. Maybe that can be
that would be my pick.
Well, it's funny, guys, because we don't talk about a team that has 10 wins. Like, they don't even get mentioned. They're like essentially the New Orleans Saints or the Carolina Panthers. I'm talking about the Minnesota Vikings, who they're 10-2. Do I think they're the best team in the NFL? I don't. I think they're dangerous. I think Green Bay at 9-3 is really dangerous as well.
The Packers should be talked about.
I agree.
The Vikings, I think, are the third best team in that division, and they play Detroit week 18. They can win that division.
They could absolutely win that division.
But it's Packers Lions this week.
So a quick gambling here. On FanDuel last night I checked. They're plus 2,300 right now.
Who, the Vikings?
Vikings to win the Super Bowl. That's
no. I'll take that bet. I'll
give you 23 to 1. No. Careful, he's got high stakes.
I like. You don't like that?
Dude, Darnold's not winning a Super Bowl with this group of guys. Come on.
I think they could beat anybody. The only team that they would really struggle with big time would be Detroit. I think they could beat on any given day. It's not the NBA Finals. It's not a best of the 7.
But I think here's the thing with Minnesota. They have a fundamental flaw, which is Brian Flores' crazy blitz schemes. When you have a great quarterback, say you put that against Josh Allen, you put that against Mahomes, those guys will eat that up against the blitz. If you're going to blitz to that rate, that's playing right into their hands.
Yeah,
so out of the NFC, maybe, but I just think they're too. It's almost like when you don't have as much talent, you throw the wild variance of that in with Flores, and it really worked for them. But they're just not there yet.
Good point. Yeah.
Give it a year or two. But if you want to take that bet, I know I can't reach your limits. Your stakes are too high for me, but I will take your 23 to 1 bet.
Yeah, well, that might be worthwhile, Davis. Let's bankrupt Chris Hein before we bankrupt.
I would tell you what, if you knew my record right now, you take my bet in a second.
Yeah, we will get to their best bets a little bit later. Yeah, and your record's not exactly sparkling, my friend.
What about Green Bay though? Should we take Green Bay serious as a Super Bowl contender?
Yes. I mean, you have to. Look, again, when we say contenders, it's anyone that has a shot to win. And I think, are they a favorite? Obviously not, but absolutely.
I do think the NFC beyond Detroit is, and I like Philly, but I think what you said about Jalen Hurts is very appropriate. I'm not sure I would put him in the category. Like, look at the quarterbacks in the AFC. Mahomes, Allen, Lamar Jackson. I think Justin Herbert's had an incredible season. Russell Wilson, I mean, Super Bowl champ, but I don't think he's clearly what he once was. Compared to the top quarterbacks in the NFC, I think there is a pretty big discrepancy from AFC to NFC, Chris.
And that's why I think the Chargers should also kind of be taken seriously, because the Chargers with Harbaugh, you're a team that's built to win in January. Your physicality, your toughness, but you also have Herbert, who when you need to and you need Herbert to kind of be unleashed, he can do that. So I think the Chargers, I don't think they're going to win the AFC. I see Stevie shaking his head. He might disagree. I think the Chargers can maybe upset someone in the first round, hopefully Kansas City, but I don't see them making a Super Bowl.
Yeah, I'm just getting straight to it. I don't think they're ready yet. Probably another year or so, a few more additions. But so when we're talking Super Bowl, I'm just thinking AFC is going to be either the Chiefs, the Bills, and whoever run into the Ravens. Anything can happen on that game because the Ravens dominated the Bills. So I got to respect that still. They got a different confidence when you step in the game against a team that you dominated before, no matter what the record is. So I see those three right. Oh, and the Pittsburgh Steelers that should be a team that I feel like is on a bubble to win a Super Bowl, but is their maturity there around their skill positions? I don't think so. So that's what keeps them at the 4 position for me. On the NFC side, I just see Detroit and Philadelphia going at it. Vikings, they can push, but like you said, they're another one of those Charger teams that's right there on the bubble. That's how I see things.
From teams that can win the Super Bowl to a team that most certainly cannot, the San Francisco 49ers. What an incredibly terrible season for them on so many different levels. This is their year, right? They have to pay Brock Purdy in the offseason. They've got all this star power on both sides of the ball. The injuries just crushed them with McCaffrey and Ayuk. Bunch of dudes on defense. And to watch that firsthand last night, man, that is a depressing franchise to be a fan of. They were so close so many years, and I just wonder what the future is for this whole group. I mean, do you pay Brock Purdy? What do you do with McCaffrey in the offseason? I mean, Deebo Samuel, there was talk of trading him in the offseason last year. They ended up signing Ayuk, coming off an ACL. I mean, it just seems that this is a team that has so many questions going forward and had such a bright future as recently as, I don't know, before the season started. Now there's just tons of question marks.
How long is this show? They're done. I mean, I said it last week. We talked. They're done.
They're done this year. There's no doubt.
We'll have an off-season episode. We'll talk about them, but because there's a whole lot of ways to go with this Niners team, but they're just done. They're not talented enough. They're banged up, and the whole conversation of what they do at quarterback, we've talked about.
They
that
have
as well.
to pay Purdy, but now we had an animation last week, the Stevie hot take alert, when he was talking about potentially Rodgers being a Niner. But Stevie, when we were talking before, and you were kind of saying that you had a take about Christian McCaffrey and last night and mismanagement. So let's hear it.
Yeah, man. I feel like they mismanaged McCaffrey, with him going through the injuries that he's going through and getting back out there. Sometimes you got to be able to manage your Warriors, because we'll run through the wall and we'll make it seem like we can do it over and over and over. But you got to manage that. When you got a horse like McCaffrey and he's valuable, possibly to the future of the 49ers, then you don't run him how you ran him last night. You give him a little bit, even if he's being successful, pull him back, because you got depth. You had Jordan Mason come back from injury. He's a young stud. Let him get that bruising and the punishment and get those situations in. You still got Deebo Samuel, who's a wide receiver / running back, who's not, I don't feel he's being utilized to the most. He's not sweating. He's not tired after the game. He should get more, although he had some bad plays, but still, that's all about taking care of your main horse, which is McCaffrey, who was last year's runner-up or third in MVP talks. You can't run him into the ground like that, especially in the snow. That's all on management out there. The only thing good about the 49ers is they still have pieces to dish and trade and get rid of and rebuild a team. So that's what I'm seeing out of the 49ers. It's over for this year, but they got pieces to rebuild if they want to.
Yeah, I totally understand your argument with McCaffrey. I guess on the other side, look how good he was running early on in that game. It looked like he was poised for a 200-yard game, a complete offensive explosion. And the way he's come back from that injury, it was a slow build. And it looked like they were about to unleash him, and then it's over.
The slow build, and then you push too hard. And especially, I think the big thing is the conditions. If it's a nice day, if it doesn't snow, sure. But that was 0 to 100 and pop, literally.
0 to 100.
That's what happened. And at the time we're taping,
6.
it looks like he's done for the year, which is really sucks for them and sucks for him.
It's a crippler for Christian McCaffrey.
Now could possibly be on the trading block. That's another piece where you can get picks or whatnot. I've seen 49ers do some crazy things, being a 49er faithful also from the city. They've given up 3 first. I don't want to have to go down the list on what they've done, but this is a great time to utilize the pieces. And if they want to still be in that championship conversation, this might be the time. Or, hey, switch up with management, with coaching.
That's another big one too. And
I saw that.
Hey, Stevie Johnson, slow down with the hot takes. God dang, fire Kyle Shanahan and tear this team up for a rebuild. Goodness gracious.
I like Kyle Shanahan, but at some point you do need to change it up, right?
They were in the Super Bowl.
No, you don't need to change it up with Kyle Shanahan. No.
If Kyle Shanahan's record, look at Kyle Shanahan's record
in the Super Bowl?
No.
Okay.
Kyle Shanahan, when losing going into fourth quarters, is like one of the worst records in the NFL. You have gotten the most. I compare it to Andy Reid in Philadelphia. Andy Reid, great coach, one of the best ever. No one would ever argue that. He did amazing things in Philadelphia. Eventually, it was time for him to leave Philadelphia and go to another spot where he evolved as a coach. I think we've seen the most of what Kyle Shanahan can get out of this group and what Kyle Shanahan can do in San Francisco. So I think it might be mutually beneficial for both the Niners and for Shanahan for a fresh start somewhere else.
So I would just say San Fran has so many injuries. I think what was the stat last night? They had 3 dudes who were playing for them in the Super Bowl on their defense.
Yeah.
I don't really know. I don't care if it's Andy Reid and Bill Parcells and all the greats coaching.
Ryan
Dinwiddie, that's right. 2024 Grey Cup champ head coach Ryan Dinwiddie. I just don't think there's any coach that can overcome that type of injury, those types of injuries. And
you mean a coach like Sean McDermott, who when the Bills played the Chiefs were missing Spencer Brown starting right tackle, Dalton Kincaid starting tight end, Keon Coleman starting receiver? It's the NFL. Next man up.
Yeah,
all of these teams are going through.
There's a lot.
Look at last year's Bills team. Last year's Bills team was missing everybody. And what did they do? They rallied and then still got the 2 seed. So I understand what you're saying. It's a logical argument, but all these teams are hurt, man. Everybody's getting hurt, and they're fighting through that and they're stepping up.
That is something the Bills have thrived on all year. Is when someone's injured, somebody else steps up.
That's McDermott's program.
It is, and it's been incredible to watch. Matt Milano coming back as well was great to see.
So
I guess my point with San Fran is just I'm not jumping ship on Kyle Shanahan being a top-notch NFL head coach based on a season that was marred by injury.
I still think he's a great coach. I just think eventually
we're not saying he's not great. Yeah.
Yes, okay, all right.
I just want to be clear the takeaway from this. Chris Hein is saying that he believes that Sean McDermott should coach the Bills and the Niners at the same time, and he would have voted for him for president.
Go back 6 weeks, and I was called when after that Texans game. I was calling Sean McDermott, Dwayne Casey, and said we needed a Nick
that
Nurse.
is true. Again, we deleted that episode. Come on.
Burn the tapes. Burn the tapes.
That was on the players. That Houston game was on the players for sure. They came out with the flat energy. They didn't match the Houston Texans energy. Last night, the Buffalo Bills matched the 49ers energy. Those first 15 plays was not the best for the Bills. However, you didn't see the Bills tuck their tails. They were still up there in their face. Ty Johnson, another guy who contributed to energy early in the season when the whole team didn't have it. He got hit on the sideline by Fred Warner. The Niners are on the sideline jumping around him. And what was he doing? He chatting back, jumping around too. He didn't just walk back to the huddle like, oh yeah, whatever. That's an aura, man. That's a confidence. And I was happy to see that. So that's a beautiful thing for me when we was talking about energy and they was bringing it. So that's great for me watching the Buffalo Bills.
It's funny you mentioned that hit. It seemed like Fred Warner knew that this was their last chance. And he was trying to really be like, guys, we got to fight. Like, let's do this. But no one else matched that energy.
All right, my man Chris Hein hit the streets earlier ahead of Monday Night Football, the Broncos and the Browns. Here's how it looked.
You ready to make a catch? You look like you're ready. Oh, you can't move out of the way. Who moves out of the way? Whoa. Uh-oh. Ah, bike. All right, you ready now? We are on the streets of Toronto doing a little same-game parlay for Monday Night Football. It's the Browns and Broncos. Phone guy, ready to make a great catch? You got that. Look at those hands. Go Bills. Whew, look at those hands. What was the atmosphere like in that snow game?
It was electric. Very cold, but there were people with their shirts off, jumping in the snow, throwing snowballs. It was unreal.
So now, after the touchdown, were you one of those people who were just launching snowballs?
No comment.
Browns and Broncos, who's winning tonight?
The Broncos would win.
How come?
Korolnek's legacy game, prime time. Browns have been struggling. They had a good game last week, but the Broncos are in that playoff spot and they're hunting for it. They're desperate.
First of all, legacy game? We're 10 games into his career.
I need him to win for fantasy as well.
So it's your fantasy team legacy game, Bo Nix.
That's right.
Okay, so Bo Nix, let's look at the yards. You like Bo Nix yards?
I haven't seen the weather in Denver.
This guy is connected. You're not just any other football fan. He needs the Doppler.
I'll go for the game that I want to see. So I'm going to go Bo Nix over yards, over passing TDs as well.
Wow, okay, so is that just what wins you your fantasy matchup?
It sure does.
Do you want to catch the football? Here we go. Nice catch. First off, who's going to win the game, Cleveland or Denver?
I think Cleveland.
How come?
Because that's the team I know.
Okay, there we go. Jameis Winston, their quarterback. He's hilarious. Everybody loves him. Funny guy. His pass yards. We're going to go over or under?
Under.
Under, okay. So you're fading Jameis. So most of the people watching probably mad at you right now. So let's make it up for them. Jameis Winston's touchdowns, over or under?
Over.
Okay, so there you go. You won the people back.
Yep.
So we got a Browns win. Jameis under yards, but over touchdowns. Yep. Go make this on FanDuel.
Sorry.
Exactly. Yeah. Do you know football?
Like Josh Allen, the Bills.
There we go. Pff, buddy, I'm a Bills fan. Look at the two. Here we go. Go Bills. How you feeling about yesterday's win?
Good, yeah. Josh Allen's crazy.
Bills winning the Super Bowl?
Yeah.
Browns, Broncos. First off, who's winning the game?
Who?
Browns and Broncos tonight.
I don't know, Broncos. I don't know the NFL that well.
Just a Bills fan?
Pretty much.
We're good with that then. Don't worry about it. Thanks, man.
All right.
Take her easy.
Another entertaining streeter, SGP, from you. Just hitting the streets, getting all the most colorful characters in the city of Toronto.
It's harder than you think, man. Queen Street there's like you're like a baseball player. You got to like you're hitting like 3 for 10, and that's a successful day.
Let's talk about the Denver Broncos, who are 6.5-point favorites tonight, hosting the Cleveland Browns. We'll get to our best bet in just a moment. We saw Jaden Daniels in Washington torch Tennessee. Bo Nix has an opportunity here to really reestablish his place in the offensive rookie of the year conversation. And against Cleveland, I frankly expect him to do just that.
I don't know, man. Like, why is no one talking about Brock Bowers when we're talking rookie of the year?
I agree with that.
Shouldn't Brock Bowers be ahead of Bo Nix? I know Bo Nix has been
Playoff team.
Bo Nix has been good. Broncos are like doing their business. They're beating people. I like Cleveland with the points tonight. And I'm just gonna say this: give me Jameis on primetime all the time. I want Jameis Winston in my life as much as possible.
What type of crazy stuff is he going to say before the game, at halftime, post game? You're right. I mean, I support Jameis and I support the Browns simply because the unknown with Winston and his behaviors, he's so eccentric. I can't get enough Jameis Winston.
He's special. He seems he's loved by his teammates. So Stevie,
I'm going to go with Jameis, and I'm taking the Browns in the points on this one because I think the horses are prepared.
Oh, nice. All right. Beautiful.
Okay, so we got one leg. We got Stevie on Browns plus 6.5. I am going Cortland Sutton over 63.5 receiving yards. And not to call out our wonderful sponsors in FanDuel, we love them, but I just think this line is a little too low. Cortland Sutton, 5 straight games he's hit that. And let's look at this. Ladders catches, ladders yards. I've already done it. Put it up to 100. I think it's around plus 240. Last 5 games, he's averaging 7.2 receptions per game, 93.4 yards per game. This guy's been a legit stud for the last month plus. And the lines are still at a very nice price where I see 63.5 and I'm all over that.
Love it. May Denzel Ward, may the shadow goes over to my guy, Devon Vele. And that's when Cortland Sutton could thrive. I'm on Bo Nix, under 0.5 interceptions. Davis Sanchez, you're a man who racked up 9 picks back in 2001. Take a guess how many interceptions Cleveland has on the season.
7.
2. Wow. 2 interceptions on the season. Wow. Bo Nix has not thrown a pick in 8 of his last 10 games. Nix under picks. My play. Wow, that rhymed. That's brilliant.
I'm also going Bo Nix. I'm going Bo Nix over 2 or 2+ touchdown passes. That's plus money on FanDuel right now, plus 108. So let's go Bo Nix and let's go Oregon Ducks.
I feel like Davis has to be bold, as we see in our best bet standings right now. Is this a 2-unit play? Is this a chance you to get back?
You know what, Chris? Mama said there'd be days like this, or months like this, or even seasons like this. But, I get knocked down, I dust myself off, and I get up.
I will say this as someone who made a ton of money just tailing you last year with your Sanchez slant.
It's coming.
Yeah, it's coming.
Don't worry.
Once he gets hot, we're all just going to jump right on.
And we'll be fanning you like in the past, and then it's all good.
I thought I had a career as a trader, too, at one point in time. Maybe I worked for Fan, then this year came, and then I just realized I better just keep being a talking head.
Hey, when you're with Takia, those picks are hitting, though.
Well, it's because Takia's picking them. That's why.
That's okay.
Wise.
All right, David, or Stevie, you know how to see us out.
Okay, yeah. Hey, guys, if you see it and you believe it, then you open up that FanDuel app and you bet it, baby. Hey, this has been a Broken Table. Thanks for checking us out. Handle business, have fun, and repeat. One love.